Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and to the final card in our Christmas card series. This is kind of a misnomer. Today we are not making a card, we are making some tags. So I have this set from Newton's Nook. I apologize, I don't know what it's called, but I got it in 2014, so it's probably not available any longer, but any kind of critter you have will work. I have some pink and limey greens, and I'm showing you Twisted Citron and Kitsch Flamingo here, but I end up going to, I believe, Mowed Lawn and Picked Raspberry. Those colors that I just showed you were a little too light for what I was trying to accomplish. I have some scrap pieces of, this is just plain HAMMERMILL cardstock, and I'm going to do some stamping. I picked some of these images that I liked, and I'm going to do some very simple, no blending Copic coloring today. This is just the quickest way that I can get some color down, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp all these images out on this cardstock, and then I'm going to use my Brother's Scan and Cut to cut them out. This is a great way for me to use some scraps that I had, and today you could convert this into a card if you wanted to. That would be very easy to accomplish. I am keeping these tags very simple, just for the fact that typically tags get tossed in the trash. They're not usually something that is kept. So I try not to put a whole lot of time into my tags, although you could jazz these up however you like and put as much time into them as you want to do. But for me, I typically know that my tags that are attached to our family packages get tossed in the trash. So I don't usually spend a whole lot of time. I am using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink I'm using Gina K Designs Obsidian ink to do my stamping today, because when this is dry, this is Copic safe. I ended up stamping these a few times just because I had some smudges on there, and some lint or dog hair or something that was kind of prohibiting me from being able to stamp these fairly well. I am going to make 12 tags today. But you make as many as you want. The other thing that you could do, I am, like I said, using critters, but you could absolutely use some flowers or a Santa or whoever. You see me using just a small acrylic block, and there is a cluster of 3 little snowflakes inside that stamp set. And I first stamped it in that, I believe it was Twisted Citron, and it was just too light. And here I'm stamping it in Kitsch Flamingo, and again, it's just too light. So I switched to Mowed Lawn and Picked Raspberry, and I'm just stamping this randomly all over these tags just to give them some interest to the background. You could dry emboss these, you could heat emboss them, you could put some splatter on there with some sort of spray, you could stencil back there, whatever you wanted to do, but this was quickest, and it gave me kind of some interest back there without taking an incredible amount of time. Whenever you are trying to stamp your own background, it's important that you stamp off of your paper just so that it looks like it was cut from a more continuous pattern. Your eye will naturally fill in those gaps, but to make it look more natural and cohesive, it's important that you make sure as you're stamping that you stamp off the edge. I have a tendency to start kind of on a corner or an edge and then kind of work my way down. That seems to work best for me, but some people start in the middle and kind of work their way out in a circle. Just kind of play with it and see what works best for you. I could have used my Misty to stamp this, but it was much quicker with something like this to use just an acrylic block. I did cut these out using this Nesting Portrait Arches die from Waffle Flower. I think this is like the 3rd or 4th smallest. So once that was done, I did take these images and use my Brother's Scan and Cut to cut these out. I recently purchased the newer model of the Brother's Scan and Cut, and it is phenomenal. I had the older model for a long time. It finally bit the dust. And this one is so much more intuitive. It takes out a lot of steps that I had to do manually before. It's so much quieter. It's even quieter than my Cricut. Ooh, goodness. I'm very pleased with this purchase. And as you can see, it cuts everything out. It looks like I cut it out with a die, but I didn't. I will say that their mats have not changed in their quality. Their mats are still pretty terrible. I do have to kind of tape everything down, and we'll have to end up re-sticking it with some glue. But for now, it is working very well, and I'm very pleased. I did do some easy alcohol marker coloring. I used my artist markers from Altenew, and for the dogs themselves, I colored them all the same brown, and I used MOCHA for that. For the silver parts on the string of lights that the dog is wrapped around, I used Silver Lake, and then the pinks are pink pearl and coral bliss, and the greens are forest glades and evergreen. I didn't do any shading. I didn't do any blending or anything like that. I just did straight color. And I was happy with that. Here I have a Sakura black glaze pen. This just gives a little bit of shine and just a touch of dimension, and I'm putting that on the dog's noses and their eyes. That is just to give those just a little bit more interest and help them stand out just a little bit more. The only one that I didn't do it on the eyes is the one that's in the stocking, and I didn't put it on that just because its eyes are closed. But I did put it on all the rest of the dogs. To actually make these into a tag, I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile, and this is the one that has the hole punch and the eyelet setter. And I didn't get these punched very centered, but it works. So once I had the first ones punched, I went and took one of the ones that I had punched and stacked it up with the ones that I had not, and then used that as like a template to help me punch the holes in the rest of them. I used the bigger opening for these, but you could have used the smaller one. I think the bigger one is 3/16 of an inch. And this goes through a pretty decent stack of them all at once, which is very, very handy. And I love that tool. I've had it for a very, very long time. These things are made to last. They are a really wonderful tool to have. This is how I'm going to actually set them. I think I got these eyelets off of Amazon, but any you have in your stash will work. You just stick it in there and then line up the crocodile here and squeeze. You don't even have to squeeze very hard, and it'll set it in there, and then you have kind of a finished edge to your tag. I left these blank on the back, and I chose to use white. And then for my baker's twine, I got this from Paper Studio, so I got it from Hobby Lobby, and I used black and white baker's twine just because I didn't have any like pink, I didn't have any green, so the black and white kind of helps it stand out on the tag a little bit better. But use whatever you have. I could have just used plain white if I wanted to. To add just a little bit of interest to these tags, I am going to use some foam tape. I got this off of Amazon to add just a little bit of dimension to these little doggies. And I'm going to add foam tape to the back of all of them, and then take off the release paper and attach them down. But before I do that, I am going to stamp my sentiments. I used 3 of the sentiments from that same Newton's Nook set. The one that has the sweater, I put sweater weather on there. And then I used wishing you a long and joyful season for the rest of them. And what I did is kind of set the little doggy where I wanted it to go, and then nestle the sentiment around it. Then I would remove the dog and go ahead and stamp it. And here I am using some VERSAFINE Onyx black ink to stamp it, just because it is such a crisp, deep, dark black that it really helps it pop off of the card. I could have used a green or a pink or some other color, but I wanted to kind of bring in that black a little bit more to help it tie into the stamped image, the sentiment, and then of course our baker's twine. So I'm going to continue to stamp all these out, and then I cut off, this is about 6 inches, but I ended up switching to 8 inches. I took an 8-inch length of baker's twine, I folded it in half, I put the loop through the front of the tag, and then I opened up that loop, and then I'm going to feed the loose ends through the tag, and then I'm just going to tie a little knot at the top, just to give us a place to the recipient a place to attach this tag to their package. I ended up switching, like I said, to an 8-inch length. That gave me just a little bit more real estate to work with. I'm going to peel off the backers of this foam tape and then attach them down. The final thing I'm going to do is add some shine to these critters. To do that, I'm going to use a Spectrum Noir clear glitter brush pen to add some shine to the sweaters, to the lights, and to the stocking. And then that will finish off all of these tags. And that finishes off our card series for 2024. I really appreciate you spending time with me. I hope that you felt inspired throughout this series. I hope if you missed any videos and you have some time that you'll go back and check them out. Until then, I wish you a Merry Christmas and thank you all for all that you do and all that you watch and all the time that you spend with me. Until then, we will see you next time. Have a Merry Christmas